Hey, Longevity Junky, it's time to get your fix. I'm Nikki Lee.
I'm Buck Joffrey.
And in today's episode, we talk with hyperbaric medicine expert Dr. Shai Efrati, who will share groundbreaking insights on how targeted oxygen therapy could reverse aging at the cellular level and unlock key longevity benefits. Also, we are revealing a study that uncovers life expectancy trends across the United States. But first, of course, we always catch up. Hi, Buck.
Hey, hi. How are you?
I'm great. I think I'm basically, I feel like the same. I don't know if I have very much.
I wonder why that might be. Anyway,
I just don't have anything super exciting to tell you.
No, you
have
don't?
something? No,
well,
do you?
kind of. I mean, yeah, I'm thinking about, I mentioned to you, I have been getting back into aesthetics.
Oh.
I used to be, I went from, if people don't know, I started out my residency in neurosurgery and head neck surgery, and then ended up of all places as a cosmetic surgeon. That's where I, did a bunch of facelifts,
Boobs and booties.
Stuff, all that stuff that all those important years of medical school had to go towards. But and anyway, I stopped practicing some time ago, and I'm thinking about getting back in to a certain extent. Not
like what?
Like sort of more minimally invasive stuff. Like there's just so many cool things that you can do that don't really require the big surgery anymore. Like
fillers?
Well, a little bit more than fillers. Yeah. You can't.
Stop being so vague. Come on now.
No, I have to have a grand opening and stuff like that, So we could talk about it then. But anyway, I'm thinking about I'm looking around, and I might end up buying an existing cosmetic practice so that I hit the ground running. It wouldn't be like something I did full time. It's like more of a med spa thing where I can create a lot of different services that I think are cool.
Oh.
But yeah, so I'm kind of excited about that. We'll see what happens. But yeah, and then I can, tack on some longevity elements to that, because I think there's this natural thing between longevity and cosmetics that I don't know. I don't feel like people sometimes recognize that, right? Like the idea of like looking good, but also actually and looking younger, but also physically kind of being younger. So anyway,
yeah, feeling it and looking it.
Yeah,
right?
I'm getting kind of excited about it, to be honest.
Cool.
I've been kind of out of this way, but yeah, that's my news. It's sort of a little drip here, and we'll see what happens. I'll keep you up to date. Yes.
Please do.
You have to come, if we do it, you have to come to the grand opening.
Duh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wouldn't be a party without us.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
I love that. Well, congratulations. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah. Yes, that is that's the excitement of the year for me, I guess.
Yeah, and we're just getting started.
So what are we doing today here?
All right. Well, I'm going to read you this study that I don't know about, so this is going to be pretty exciting.
Okay.
Okay, so there was a recent study published in JAMA Network Open examined mortality and life expectancy trends across the United States and Washington, D.C., focusing on birth cohorts from 1959 to 2019. The research revealed significant disparities in life expectancy based on geographic location and gender. While individuals born in the 1950s and the 1960s experienced notable improvements in life expectancy, those born in the 1980s and 1990s saw stagnation and declines. These variations are influenced by factors such as socioeconomic status, healthcare access, and the public health policies. So, the top 5 states for life expectancy.
Okay, we have drum rolls here.
Yep. Okay. For men.
Number 1.
Number 1, Hawaii. Oh, nice. Good for them.
Yeah, it sort of seems like, okay, interesting on that one for men.
Top 5 states for life expectancies for men. Number 1, Hawaii. I like that because I think that they do more farm to table type of things. I just feel like they grow their own food.
Yeah, true.
Nice.
But then I was just thinking about, they also have a pretty significant Polynesian population. And the Samoa, and there's a lot of diabetes and obesity and that kind of thing in that population. But anyway, it must overpower like the rest of the country, or the rest of the state overpowers that. Number 2 is not a big surprise, right? Number 2 is not a big surprise.
No, number 2 is California.
because we're all a bunch of freaks who sit there and worry about, living longer and looking good and stuff like that.
True. That's very true. And number 3 is New York, which I'm kind of surprised about.
Yeah, me too. It must be mostly a Manhattan-driven thing, right? Like,
right.
I can't imagine Buffalo, New York. They're like,
true.
living, nothing bad about Buffalo, but I just think of that as sort of a blue collar.
But New York is a really big state, by the way.
Yeah,
and a lot of it actually is like, has a lot of nature involved, and there's, a lot more greenery in New York than we think. Like New York City is just a blip on the state.
True. That's true. Now, number 4 is
you will be very excited.
Very interesting. Is the great state of Minnesota. Where I was born and raised.
You're so happy about that.
Yeah, very impressive. Very proud.
And number 5, I have no idea what my impression is on this, but number 5 is Connecticut.
Yeah.
Is that surprising? I have no idea.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
All right.
I don't have much to say about Connecticut, right?
I don't either. That's why I was like, is that surprising?
Okay. Well, let's run through the women real quick.
Okay, so for women, number 1, again, Hawaii. There must be something with connecting with nature and just like the health benefits of all that. And then number 2, same as men, California. Number 3, Connecticut moved up to number 3.
That's so weird.
I know, I have no idea. Number 4 stays the same as Minnesota. And number 5, we have Massachusetts coming in the running.
Okay.
So New York dropped out for women.
Got it.
All right.
That's interesting stuff there.
Yeah. All right, but we got the bottom 5 states.
The bottom 5. Okay, let's do it. Okay.
Of life expectancy. For men, number 1 is Mississippi.
Ouch.
Oh, sorry, Mississippi. Number 2, West Virginia. Number 3, Alabama. Number 4, Kentucky. And number 5 is Arkansas.
Interesting.
So very low, like right at the bottom of the United States.
Yeah, and curiously, the women are exactly the same here. So, the top least 5 or the worst 5 places for women are exactly that again. So,
oh my god,
oh gosh,
I can't.
Phil,
our producer is being really like he's telling.
Yeah,
he thinks he knows why West Virginia is at the bottom of the 5 states, understand. And he says country road kills you.
I don't know what that even means. Country road kills you.
Roadkill. Is that what you're talking about?
Country roadkill.
It's a song. Country
it's a
road
song.
Kills you.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
song.
That
who sings that song? Who sings that song? It's a
Country Road Takes You Home.
Oh, Country Road Takes You Home.
Oh.
Got it. Well, I guess people are listening, going, "You idiots! You don't know that song." Of course, I don't.
Well, and he wanted to insert there at Alabama. He's like, should we insert an incest joke?
No, probably not. We're gonna have the good people.
We're putting you on blast this time, Phil.
The good people of Alabama do not deserve that kind of attack from you, Phil. So
it's okay. All right, now we have the bottom 5 states life expectancy for women. We have
the same.
Number 1, the same, Mississippi. Number 2, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. Number 2, West Virginia. Number 3, Alabama. 4, Kentucky. And 5, Arkansas. Well, I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I guess these are not the states we really want to be in.
We've got the southern states there, right? A lot of southern states.
Too much jambalaya or jumbo or whatever the heck.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of fried food, right?
A lot of fried food.
Mm-hmm.
These are also the areas that are known
Swamps.
to have a high number of deaths of despair. So Mississippi, West Virginia, Alabama, lots of deaths, some drug overdoses, suicides, and alcohol.
Oh, really?
That have really, significantly shortened lifespans as a whole.
Huh.
So really the idea is they're driven a lot by some economic hardship, social isolation.
I can see that.
Interesting. Men in these states saw almost no improvement in life expectancy, like from the 1950s. It's the same.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Where, if you look at, I was trying to figure out the Minnesota thing, and apparently, less people in Minnesota smoke than other places
Oh,
in the
really?
Midwest, stuff like
Well, they're
that.
also, again, it's very exposed to like fresh air. And
Yeah,
I mean, when I've gone there, it's beautiful. There's lakes everywhere, right?
that's true. That's
Yeah. And
true.
that's just, I feel like that's a testament to, nature.
They also have one of the best healthcare
Oh.
coverage situations.
Oh, do they?
Like very, like, yeah, like I think it's one of the best places in the country when it comes to like the average number of people who actually are covered by health insurance. So that probably helps a little bit.
Well, what about how cold it gets?
Yeah, so the idea there being potentially perpetual cold therapy. No, right.
I mean, I've heard it gets crazy in the winters there.
Well,
so.
you know what? It does. I've never been anywhere as cold, and
Yeah,
I lived in Chicago. I lived in New York. There's nowhere it feels as cold as Minnesota.
There you go.
But what's interesting about Minnesota, and it's weird, is the summers are so hot. It's like, so you're going up into the hundreds with like 90% humidity in the summer, and then you go to like minus 30 in the winter.
It's that shock therapy.
That's right. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's that whole hormesis thing, right? People are completely, but anyway, yeah. So
their bodies get to adapt and probably are very resilient. Honestly.
Yeah. Sure. We're seeing in general, like women generally outlive men by about a half decade, 4 or 5, years longer than men. And so I mean, interesting stuff. I mean, I think it's curious, but the California one, we kind of have a pretty good idea about why that is.
Well, it does have a blue zones. California does have a blue zone.
That's true. That's true. What is it? San Luis Obispo or something? No. Something like that.
Loma Linda.
Oh, yeah, it's Loma Linda.
It's Loma Linda.
Okay, yeah. Got it.
Never been there, but
well, interesting take.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
But I am and I'm not. I'm excited that Hawaii is number 1 for everyone. That's cool.
Yeah.
Male and female. That's neat. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive into the science of reversing cellular aging with hyperbaric oxygen therapy with Dr. Shai Efrati. Welcome back to Longevity Junky. It's time for our guest interview. It's The Breakdown with Dr. Shai Efrati. Shai Efrati, MD, is a physician and researcher specializing in hyperbaric medicine and longevity science. He is the founder of Aviv Clinics and director of the Segal Center for Hyperbaric Medicine and Research at Shamir Medical Center in Israel. Dr. Efrati's groundbreaking research focuses on using hyperbaric oxygen therapy to target aging at the cellular level, including telomere lengthening and reduction of senescent cells. His work has helped establish hyperbaric oxygen therapy as a promising clinical tool for cognitive enhancement, metabolic health, and healthy aging. Welcome to the show, Dr. Efrati.
Happy to be here.
So, can you briefly explain for our listeners what hyperbaric oxygen therapy is and how it differs from simply breathing oxygen at normal pressure?
I would start by explaining what hyperbaric medicine is in general.
Oh, okay, great.
That's better than just oxygen.
Perfect.
And, in medical school, we usually train to use a knife. Okay, we have the license to cut people and what we call surgery-related physicians, okay? And then we've been trained to use chemistry entity, okay? And that's the drug. And we can inject the chemical entity, we can give it orally, we can inhale it. That's what we are doing. And those are the tools that we usually train to use. In hyperbaric medicine, we are utilizing changes in the environment in order to achieve a biological goal. In order to do that, we need a controlled environment. And for that, we need a chamber that we control everything that is happening inside, the pressure, the gases, and we can play around with whatever we want. So people from the outside thinks that hyperbaric can be used for multiple things. That's true. But what you have in the capsule, which is the chamber, is actually totally different. So there are 3 main indication or active ingredient when we are using hyperbaric medicine. In one of them, the active ingredient is the pressure, okay? We need to utilize the pressure to achieve the goal. And what could be the goal? Let's say somebody has bubbles inside his body and we want to shrink the bubble, right? Because we cannot go around and take the bubble out by hand, okay? So for that, we are increasing the pressure, shrinking the bubble, and then we can do a very easy descent that the bubble will not accumulate. This is how it started in diving medicine. Okay, you have the bends.
The bends, right?
The
We're scuba
bends,
divers.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Other indication, let's say somebody is going into cardiac surgery, bypass machine, and then you have air emboli or different reason for air emboli. With this respect, the indication is the pressure. We are going to very high pressure, 6 atm. We are not using oxygen at all because oxygen can be toxic at that level. So this is one thing. This is one use of the capsule with a certain ingredients in the capsule that we call the chamber. The other big indication is oxygen. Okay, we want to deliver more oxygen. We cannot go to a person, tell him, I want you to take 3 pills of oxygen per day. We can say, but it doesn't work. So we need to compress more molecules per square. More will go into the lungs and from the lungs to the rest of the body. And that's why we are using the pressure to compress more molecules of oxygen per square. And when the active ingredient is the oxygen per se, the indication are related to oxygen-deprived tissue. Okay, for example, let's say somebody had smoke inhalation with high CO level that blocks the oxygen from binding to the red blood cells. For that, we are using that. Somebody has acute retinal artery, loss of vision immediately because of tiny stroke in the retinal artery. We are using that. Non-healing wounds, okay, where the oxygen delivery, the perfusion is the rate limiting factor. So that's a second big use of the capsules. The third one, which I assume we are discussing now, it's what we want to use the changes in the environment in order to induce the repair mechanism, the regenerative capacity of the body. For that, this is not the oxygen. This is actually the fluctuation that we generate. And what is the trick with regard to that? We want to trigger the repair mechanism. The most powerful trigger in our body to induce all the repair mechanism, stem cells proliferation, generation of new blood vessels, and so on and so forth, is actually hypoxia, is lack of oxygen. Because from evolution perspective, when we are oxygen deprived, the body knows that there's a problem. And from evolution perspective, when that is happening, then the body starts to stimulate the repair mechanism. So you can say, I can take a person, hold his breath, stop his heartbeat, I will induce the repair mechanism. There is only one problem with that, okay? You will have a damage. But we were thinking, what the body actually sense? Does the body sense absolute values? Or does the body sense the delta, the fluctuation? And it happens to be there is no absolute in anything. Everything is relative. I will feel that I'm fortunate or unfortunate, not really based on what I have, based on what my neighbor has. So what we are doing, we are going to very high oxygen level, compressing a chamber, which is the capsule, with high pressure, and then get oxygen by mask. And the trick is that based on the certain protocol that we investigated, we asked the people to take the mask off. What happened when they're taking the mask off? The oxygen is declining from very, very high back to the normal. And this decline from very high back to the normal is being interpreted at the cellular level as hypoxia, as lack of oxygen, even though we don't have lack of oxygen. And this is what we call the hyperoxic-hypoxic paradox. We are inducing all the things that happen during hypoxia in hyperoxic condition.
I want to just kind of summarize a little bit just for our audience, because I think there's a lot of ideas in there. But I think the first idea being that there is some sort of response in the same in an analogous way to fasting. The way you start fasting and you're creating some sort of reaction from the body to heal itself. As I'm understanding it, you're comparing that to the same, comparing hypoxia is a similar type of stimulus. Hypoxia meaning, for people who don't understand or don't know, it means low oxygen. And what you're saying, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, is that it's not necessarily that it's low oxygen, but that it's lower oxygen than, the body is sensing, and that when you have a relative drop in oxygen, you're essentially creating that same shock to the system, or that same hormetic response.
Conditioning the body to then
Is that-
overwork in a sense to
Exactly.
come back to
Yeah.
homeostasis. Now, wouldn't that be with hypobaric instead of hyperbaric?
So that can happen with hyperbaric, but the main problem with hypobaric, with low oxygen, is that you're actually causing damage.
Right.
But doesn't I've read with hypobaric chambers and stuff that athletes, like extreme athletes or people who were really training harder, like that's what they use. That's what I was reading, as opposed to normal everyday people needing more oxygen in their blood. They would use hyperbaric.
Well, I think what I think you're getting at, and maybe it's a good question for Dr. Efrati, is like, people training at high altitudes, for example.
Yeah.
So that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you are doing a higher delta when you are doing the exercise with low oxygen environment. So that's being used, but not all people are elite performance. So if you take somebody and do hypoxia and his cardiovascular system is not as fit as the 20-year-old athlete who is doing the exercise,
and you have a heart attack,
you will find yourself not in a good condition.
Right.
And by the way, we have done a study that on athletes, okay, where we utilize the hyperoxic-hypoxic paradox and randomize them into two groups. One did the exercise or the training with the HHP. Now we are more advanced, so we don't say hyperbaric. We can say HHP, which is the hyperoxic-hypoxic paradox, okay, which is a certain predefined protocol. It's not just oxygen. And the other group received placebo, and we also, I'm a research, so we did biopsies, muscle biopsies of the mitochondria and all of that. So to make a long story short, the VO2 max, the maximal oxygen consumption of the body, increased by 10 to 15%, and this is athletes, okay, which is huge. The anaerobic threshold increased, the muscle power increased, and at the cellular level, we can see more mitochondria, okay? And the function of each mitochondria is improving, because when we are doing up and down, it's just like doing interval training to the mitochondria.
Mitochondria, yeah.
So help me understand. So I think I might have missed something, Dr. Efrati, when you said there's a specific protocol. It's not just getting in the hyperbaric. It's not just getting into the chamber, at 2 or 3 atmospheres or whatever, and putting oxygen in. There's a part where you actively decrease the oxygen. Can you specifically talk about that protocol that you're mentioning?
Okay, so that's a good question, because when people Google hyperbaric, what they get online is tube that are filled with air,
Right.
cholesterol,
Air and pressure.
This is not it.
That's not it. Oh, okay,
that's not it. That's important, because that's what we thought it was.
Right.
No. That's absolutely not it.
Okay.
So the real thing that we investigated and found to be effective is that you are actually going into a suite, which is like a cabin of an airplane.
Okay.
Yes.
You sit inside with a professional tender that sit with you. And then we are compressing the chamber, the suite, with air, not with oxygen. Okay?
Okay.
Going to 2 atmosphere with air, and then you get the oxygen by mask.
Oh.
Okay.
Now, the trick is that every 20 minutes, we ask the people to take the mask off for 5 minutes. Now, when you are at 2 ATA with 100% oxygen, the blood oxygenation increased from 100 to 1500. And when you are taking the mask off, there is a sharp decline back to the normal. And every session, it's 2 hours, and you've been asked to take the mask on and off every 20 minutes.
So 2 hours.
Wow.
You're doing
Then,
okay.
and then you repeat it daily.
For how long?
So that depends what you
He's
want
like
to
the
achieve.
rest of your life.
Yeah.
In the next 100
Forever.
years.
Well, is it like a 30-day protocol or?
That depends what we want to achieve. If the goal is to enhance the VO2 max, anaerobic threshold, muscle performance, then 40 session, daily session, 5 days per week can be sufficient. If we want to get into a position, the most important organ that we have in our body is between our ears, okay? So if you want to get a significant angiogenesis and neurogenesis in the brain, generation of new neurons, blood vessels that will hold for a period of time, then we are speaking about 60 session, because that takes more time. So with regard to the brain is the 60 session. With regard to the cardiovascular, if you're an athlete and you want to improve it, so it's at least 40 session. And with regard to the telomere elongation, reduction in senescent cell, all of that stuff, the protocol that we did was 60 session.
60 sections, and then you saw improvement?
Yeah.
After 60? Okay.
Yeah, and in that study, I think that's the one that you're cited for the most. There was a change in telomere size. Is that correct? Can you talk a little bit about that study so people understand it? So the landmark study with telomere lengthening, I think there was a reduction in senescent cells.
Yeah.
And I think and that was after 60 days. 60 sessions.
Let's say a couple of words about senescent cell.
Yeah.
This is the aging at the cellular level. Okay. Cells can either go into proliferation, means we have now we have 2, and they continue to proliferate if we grow them in the lab, okay, and also in the real life, or they can go into apoptosis. Apoptosis is an organized cell death. The cells see that it has a problem, and in order not to damage the environment, it eliminates itself in an organized way. The garbage is being taken out quietly, the environment is being clean, and now we can grow a cell that will replace it. This is apoptosis or proliferation. That's normal growing. However, if I'm taking cells in the lab, these cells will go into something like 40 sessions of proliferation, and then they will stop. They will not proliferate, and they will not kill themselves. They stuck. Okay? And these stuck cells, we call them senescent cells. Those are the cells that accumulate mutation. Then that cell will become cancer cell. Okay? And those are the cells that can cause damage to the environment because they are malfunctioning cells. And then you have the inflammation and all the issues related to aging, okay, age-related disease. So those are the senescent cells. And what we have found in this study is that, and the study was on normal, healthy adult, people at the age of 65 or older, healthy, okay? It's important to say that because then we can speak about other disease. We were able to demonstrate that the amount of the senescent cell can go down. And this is actually the holy grail when we're speaking about age-related functional decline. So we can see a decline in the senescent cell. We evaluate that in blood samples, but we also did skin biopsies. And you can see that even in the skin biopsies, the amount of the senescent cell are going down. And then the question is, why they are going down? why the senescent cell, the normal cell, becomes senescent? Why they malfunction? What's the problem? Some of the problem related to what we call telomeres. Telomeres are actually the bumpers that cover the tip of the DNA. Whoever generate this machine for a period of time. And when he generated us at the cellular level, he generated DNA. And the DNA is important. So the DNA is well protected in the nucleus, meaning we have a specific area in the cell that is totally protected with additional membrane, where we put the most important book that we have in our cell. And this textbook, this is the DNA. And it's well protected over there. When the DNA is at risk, when the cell is replicating, we have two leads of DNA. These leads been split and matched. And during this splitting and matching, the DNA is exposed. So there might be damage to the DNA. So whoever generated us said, wow, the DNA is important. I will put a bumper, so the bumpers will take the hit instead of the DNA of the core textbook. So this text will not be damaged because the text is important. And every time the cell is splitting, the telomeres are shrinking until they are reaching a certain point where they are too short to protect the DNA, and then the cells stop to split, and that's become a senescent cell.
So the enzyme telomerase tends to prevent that shortening. Is there do we believe that somehow telomerase is being upregulated? That there's more telomerase because of this hypoxic event, or?
So we are not certain of how it's been done yet. It might be the telomerase, and it might be other stuff that we don't know how to measure yet. So all we know is that the senescent cell concentration can be declined. The telomeres can be elongated. What is the exact pathophysiology cascade that lead to that, we don't know yet, but we will learn and come with an answer.
Well, I am curious also because it seems like the tendency or the trend right now for testing sort of biological impact for aging has shifted a lot towards various types of biological aging and DNA methylation tests. Have you done any sort of epigenetic testing on these people just to see if there's any reduction in some of the epigenetic changes?
So we are doing a lot, and we see that we change indeed the gene expression. I must tell you one thing with regard to the biological clock, what is being called, whether it's methylation and whether it's proteomic and things like that, it's not stable yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are doing this test in a large cohort of population, you will see a trend of change along age. But if you are dealing per specific individual, at least the clocks that we evaluated, and we evaluate a lot, are not stable enough to be used per individual. Yeah. Okay, so you can take...
that's a very good point. I think one of the issues, and I spoke to Matt Kaberlein about this too, is that as much as everybody's into these biological clocks, they're neither accurate nor precise. And so it does become a little bit of a challenge just to use them for that purpose. But I was just curious if there was data on that as well.
Well, what about with like memory? What about hyperbaric oxygen therapy in terms of like, we were talking about physiology, but what about like memory and attention and executive function in healthy adults?
So that was the primary endpoint of the study.
Okay, yeah.
Of the first study.
Mm-hmm.
So what we see with respect to the brain, when we are doing MRI DTI, we can actually track the nerve fibers. We can see improvement, and that's improvement being reflected by improve of working memory, which is the short-term memory, attention, information processing speed, and executive function. Okay, not slowing the decline, but improving that with respect to the brain. In addition to the brain, what we did a cardiac MRI evaluating the perfusion of the myocard, and surprise, surprise, the same angiogenesis that we have in the brain, we have in the heart. And that's been reflected with a better VO2 max anaerobic threshold, meaning cardiovascular performance in humans. By the way, with regard to biomarkers or biological aging, I think that the most important predictor of our well-being and ability to survive is the VO2 max test.
Right. Sure.
Okay? That's probably the number one predictor of how much we will live and the longevity that we have, not only in our species, not only in humans, general in the universe, no matter what species do you take, the gap that we have between resting and maximal performance predict how you can survive and overcome the next obstacle that you will have in your life. So we were able to demonstrate also that in normal, healthy individuals.
What about, we always talk about like insulin sensitivity and metabolic health. Have you found any benefits in those as well? Or even vascular function as well?
The vascular function, we spoke about angiogenesis, but I must tell you one thing. If somebody eat crap, okay, meaning injecting
Processed food and
Yeah.
stuff.
yeah, nothing will help.
Of
Right.
course. Oh, well, I love that
Nothing
you
will
made that so plain simple. It's
Nothing-
not gonna help. Nothing's gonna help. You guys are
Nothing
screwed.
gonna work.
Eat
And we are
healthy.
challenging that to see whether we will take diabetic person, pre-Alzheimer, and see if there is a chance. But I don't think nothing can work over there because it's such, it's like going into a hurricane storm with an umbrella. It's such a storm that you cannot overcome it. You cannot overcome it. So what is crucial is first control that. Take the things that takes you down out of the equation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, take the processed food out.
Do the basics.
Yeah, do the basics. I hear you. I love that.
And then on top of that, you can do additional stuff. Okay.
Right.
Think about somebody who is training. He wants to be in the Olympics game. And he eats shit, he's overweight, he have insulin unresponsive at all. It doesn't matter all the rest. Unless you are taking that out, nothing will work.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
true.
although I'm curious a little bit, just in terms of metabolic health, I would imagine that you would see improvements simply because your VO2 max is getting better, your mitochondrial function is better. And along that lines, I also wonder about, inflammatory markers as well. If you've been looking at, less inflammation, CRP, IL-6, anything like that you might be measuring as well.
So what we are doing now, this is an ongoing study that we have. Again, we have studies that we are doing on really metabolic deprived population with diabetic and all of that. I will be surprised if something is working over them, but we need to do it just to know.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, we are doing we are running a study now where we evaluate not only CRP, because if you take the highly performed population, their inflammation level is low at the beginning. So the CRP is not the best marker for that. So we are doing proteomics. In proteomics, you can evaluate a bench of inflammatory markers to see how they react and when they react. Because our goal is really to look for a biomarker that can be used. So unfortunately, we don't have the appropriate biological clock at the moment. So we are looking for other stuff. For example, we want to see whether measurements of the amount of stem cells that you have can serve as a marker on which you can optimize the protocol. Okay?
Mhm.
Because when we are doing those fluctuations, we are actually triggering stimulation of stem cells. So let's say, for example, and this is a study that we are running now, we don't have results yet, but this is the concept. let's say we know how much stem cells people have in different age group, okay? And we want to target your treatment that your regenerative capacity will be just like how it was when you were 20 or 30. What will be the marker of your regenerative capacity, the repair mechanism that you have? That can be stem cells, okay? So we were working on different way to measure the stem cells, because if we wanted to serve as biomarker, I want to take the blood now and give you the results a couple of hours later. And I want it to be stable, so we won't have a significant change if I'm taking the blood now or a week later. So if we will have this kind of thing that we can trace and not just CRP for somebody whose CRP is low, scratch, then maybe we can find something that, we can target and monitor and see how it goes and optimize the treatment per individual.
Now you're talking about this treatment and you were talking about there's like 60 sessions, 40 sessions, things like that. Now, is this going to be sustained long term, or do you have to keep going back in for these like booster sessions or something? And also, is there been any data of how the body reflects these sessions after like 6 to 12 months? Like, does it sustain?
When people are finishing the 60 session, they're sitting in front and they said, wow, Shai, it's amazing. My memory is better, my attention, my physical performance is better, and my sexual function is also better. My erection is much better. So what will happen now? They're terrified. So
right.
Said, it's going to last for a week.
And then yeah, right? It sucks.
So I'm always telling them, relax. Now you are aging again, okay?
Yeah, relax. You're stressing yourself out. You're aging again.
Yeah, but... And the rate of the decline, of course, you are aging. It's just like a car that went out of the factory, okay? You will have a decline.
Depreciates immediately. Just kidding.
Yeah, but I'm telling them that, and I say, don't worry, we will monitor you. So every 6 months, we are doing monitoring. And this monitoring includes, with regard to the brain, is computerized neurocognitive testing. Number for everything. Memory number, attention number, okay? No discussion. That's how I like it. And VO2 max test, okay? If you're stable, very good. We will see you 6 months after. And if you're stable, 6 months after. Now, the rate of the decline depends, of course, on what you eat, how you live, your DNA, all of these factors. Generally speaking, people who are adherents to the program, the results can hold for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so that's good.
So let me ask you this, if Dr. Efrati, when I listen to the protocol, it sounds very daunting,
Dude, tell me what the protocol is.
Well, we're talking about 2 hours.
60. Okay, yeah.
2 hours, 5 days a week for 60 days. And first of all, first question on that is, how do we know that we need that? Like, how do you know you can't get away with less than that? Have you done a bunch of tests where, have you tried it with less time, like half the time? And how do you know? Tell us how the protocols came about, basically.
So what you're asking me is about 25 years of research.
Yeah. Well, okay, but so
damn it,
what you found is this is essentially like your minimal dosing in order to get this response.
Yeah. So it took us a lot of time. We haven't started with this protocol. Okay, we started with shorter protocols, different pressure, different composition of air brakes, with or without air brakes. If you are we are dealing with biology, okay? And we are speaking about a tissue that needs to repair or enhance, depends how you look at it. And that takes time. Just like somebody will come to you with a wound in the leg or the hand and will tell you, can it be ready tomorrow or a week from today, be repaired? You will tell him, no, it takes time. It's a repair mechanism. So it takes time. So when we started with 20, we started to see something going on, but it wasn't well cooked enough for us to see that the tissue was really changed. Then we moved to 40 session, and with 40 session, we had better results. But the results didn't hold for a significant period of time, meaning the angiogenesis. I'm speaking about the brain, okay?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So then we moved to 60 session, and then with 60 session, we see that the results holds. And by the way, there was a very challenging, great study done by Lynn Weaver, a colleague from the US, who did a study on post-concussion syndrome. And in his study, we can see that 80 sessions are better than 60. So we don't know what is the optimal protocol, and we definitely don't know what is the optimal protocol per individual.
It sounds like more is better.
Yeah, it sounds like more is better.
But there is a point, if you are going above 60 or 17, you may pay with side effects that we don't want to pay. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So
Too much of a good thing.
too much of a good is not good. That's
It's not good. Yeah.
So what kind of side effects are we talking about? Things related to, there is this issue, maybe you could talk a little bit about avoiding, issues with reactive oxygen species, things like that, or is it
Oxygen species?
Yeah, so generally free radicals, like things that we generally would take, antioxidants for, that those things that generally those oxidants are generated from oxygen. And so maybe Dr. Efrati could talk a little bit about that. Obviously, I'm out of my league in this, but
I might say something about reactive oxygen species, which is ROS.
Yeah.
Okay. Most people speak about it a lot, but they don't know what it is.
Sure.
So if you want, I can say a couple of words about it. What
do it. Yeah,
sure.
no.
Okay. So we actually speak about the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the energy generator within the cell. Okay, it takes oxygen, glucose, generate energy, which is at the cellular level, we call it ATP. So on the mitochondria, we have complex on which the electron is jumping from one to the other, and the energy is generated down. Now, like any process that generates energy, they can be a smoke. I call it a smoke that will go to the environment, okay? Unwanted material, byproduct that will go into the environment. And this is actually what we call reactive oxygen species, electron that's supposed to jump from one complex to the other, but it missed and it's going out, okay? And this electron is unstable and he wants to settle somewhere. So he settle on different protein, lipids, and because we don't want him there, it will cause damage to them. We are still together. This is the ROS. So ROS can be generated either that in a point that you overactivate the engine, okay? Like you will push the gas in the car harder, you will have more smoke going from the back of your car, or because the engine is malfunctioning and just by driving very slow, you will have huge amount of smoke all over. So the number one trigger to generate reactive oxygen species is actually hypoxia, lack of oxygen, because then the engine doesn't work and then you have a lot of ROS without energy. So it's not related to the oxygen, it's related to the mitochondrial dysfunction. Of course, that if you are doing exercise, training, you will release more ROS because you are pushing the gas, you're pushing the car to drive faster. So of course you will have more. But the ROS themselves are not the problem. The reason why the mitochondria is malfunctioning, this is the problem. And this is why in all of the studies that people take what we call antioxygen, we haven't found these antioxygen supplements to be effective in a measurable way, okay? Because the problem is not the ROS, the problem is the mitochondria that is malfunctioning, and then you have the ROS. So it's just like triggering the smoke instead of repairing the engine. Okay, so that's the ROS. Okay, so if you will say, for example, exercise release more ROS, exercise is not good. Of course, it's good. Okay, so that's with respect to the ROS, but it become a buzzword. Every time we don't know something, we said, it's reactive oxygen species. It's reactive. No, it's not reactive. It's mitochondrial dysfunction. It's something else, but that's not the problem. Now, with respect to side effects that can be related to too much treatment, indeed, over-oxygen, uncontrolled way, if I will take somebody into hyperoxygenized environment to high pressure with a lot of oxygen time, we can overactivate, for example, the CNS, the brain, okay? And then you will have overexcitation, and then you may have epileptic seizure, okay? Which can happen. Okay, if we speak about the eyes, the focus of the eye is getting closer, so you may have myopathy that from a certain point can be irreversible. The other side effect can be related to the lungs, okay, because this is the organ that is mostly exposed to the oxygen, and then you have and the pressure, and then you may have side effect related to that. So it has to be done in a controlled way. Generally, it's safe, okay? You need to be evaluated by physician who is specialized in the field to know that you are suitable for the dive. It has to be a certain protocols, not doing it twice daily. I see centers,
overdoing it.
Not over. I see my face all over. So they are unfortunately not in a good way. There are a lot of crap going around. People are buying these sacks, this tube, and saying we are giving a Efrati protocol. And look, I said, what's that related to what we have done? It's not related. They're saying, you want 60 sessions, come to us, we will do it twice daily, and then you will have all the 60 sessions. But that's overutilizing. It's not good. So it has to be a precise way of delivering. We have very low tolerance for side effects, especially if you're speaking with people who want to enhance their physical performance. You don't want to pay with side effects, so it has to be with the airbags. It has to be 5 days per week. Fortunately, you still need us, the physician, to evaluate you and tell you if it's suitable, yes or not.
Well, one question. The other thing that in the U.S. most of the time, and I know you're close. I believe you're in Israel now. You're in Israel, obviously, but you do have an American presence too. Is that correct? In Florida, is that right?
So I'm living in Israel, okay, and here we have the Segol Center for Hyperbaric Medicine and Research, which is actually, just for perspective, we are treating around 400 patients per day, just to give you some perspective. And we have affiliated center in the U.S., in Florida. It's called the Aviv Clinic, and that's the largest and most advanced hyperbaric facility in the U.S. And in this facility, it's not only the chambers. You will have a multidiscipline team, physiologists, physiotherapists, neuropsychologists, dietitian. Everybody walks around you, because usually if you want to achieve a meaningful clinical benefit, it's not targeting only one thing. You have to target the whole. So the Aviv Clinic is actually a hub where you have all the professionals surrounding you, doing a good evaluation at the beginning, determine what's the needs for you specifically to get the maximum. And then you are entering a program that at its core have hyperbaric, but it's not only that. Okay, based on the evaluation, we can determine what you need, and you will get everything you need to get the maximum at the end.
So what do people usually go in there for? Like can a normal healthy person go in there and say, I want this therapy for what exactly would they be asking for?
So also tell me
combat
what's
aging?
The biological wish, and we will see if we can achieve it.
Like better skin, better memory, like people can come in and say things like that, or?
So our slogan is brain performance for life.
Brain performance
if you
for life.
Come and say
I'll sign up for that.
Yeah. So it's brain performance for life. So it's a full scale from people who had traumatic brain injury, strokes, long COVID. And today we know how long COVID can damage the brain. And this is, by the way, the only intervention that was proved so far in a randomized prospective control trial to be effective. So, or normal aging, or you are an athlete and you can come, okay? So you have the range from elite performance to people with an injured brain that are coming. They are going through evaluation that includes, in addition to the clinical evaluation, includes brain imaging, MRI, functional DTI MRI, and metabolic imaging of the brain, okay? We are doing a unique SPECT scan with the material, it's named ECD, which is like full to the neurons, and then you can see exactly how the brain is functioning. Based on this evaluation, we can predict with more than 80%, it's actually 90%, but I want to be polite, more than 80% accuracy, what can happen with the treatment. We can see the brain region that can improve. And then you can make a decision whether you are going to the program, yes or not. And if yes, you are going to the program and being reevaluated afterwards. And then everybody can see his brain, see the changes, see whatever happened to him, and then follow up to see how it goes afterwards.
Now, once you start, do you feel like you have to kind of keep going? Because now now your brain and your body are so used to getting this, elite protocol and allowing your brain to perform at its maximum capacity. Is it something that you probably need to, once you start, like you shouldn't go back, like you'll just decline faster because your body is used to this threshold?
I will tell you a story. When we did our first study that started 25 years ago was on post-stroke patient, okay? And I did the study in order to understand why neurons in the brain cannot be regenerated. And my goal was to prove that it cannot be done, that also hyperbaric cannot help with that. However, when we finished the study, I was looking at the brain imaging, okay, on the brain post. And you can see that actually the brain can regenerate, that you can have angiogenesis, improve metabolic imaging, things that when I was in medical school, I was taught that cannot happen.
Wow.
And when I looked at the images, I said, wow, what is that? What I'm looking at? What is that? And after wandering on the brain imaging for a couple of hours, I said, oh my God, first of all, it's for me.
There you go.
That's awesome.
I said, first of all, me. I it's first and most important for me. It's like, when the airplane is crashing, they tell you to put the mask on first on yourself and
There you go.
take care of the. So it's first of all for me. And since then, I'm taking the treatment to myself, of course. So every 2 years, I'm taking the full 60 session. I'm 55 now. And in my case, everything is measurable. You can see my brain, how it was 20 years ago, how it is now, and you can see my cognitive, and there are biopsies of my...
That's so exciting.
And today, I wasn't bad 20 years ago, but today I'm much better.
Is that right?
That's incredible.
You're better with all of those measurements today, 20 years later? No, that's great.
I want to do this.
So let me ask you this, Dr. Efrati. Obviously not everyone can come to Florida or to Israel. What do you think there's any value, or what is the value of the traditional hyperbaric oxygen treatment that, maybe it's at 2 atmospheres, 100% oxygen for an hour? I mean, are people getting value in doing any of that? Or is your view that, you really have to do this different kind of protocol that involves the hypoxia?
So I will start with the most important thing, and we are both physicians. The first rule in medicine is do no harm.
Right.
So in any case you want to get the treatment, it should be done with a medical grade facility and equipment. Because once you are pumping air, compressing air into a chamber and you breathe it, you have to be sure that the quality of the air that you are breathing is good, that you don't have contamination, not with bacteria, not with viruses, and not with oil that coming out of the compressor inside.
Sure.
The refreshment rate should be monitored to make sure that you don't have CO2 or CO accumulation inside. And you have safety measures so you won't blast out. Okay, so 2 months ago, for example, in the US, a child at the age of 4 was blown up in such a tube, okay, what we call monoplace chamber that was blast. And that's happened from time to time, especially with the so-called home use device that people are buying, or with the clinic that you don't have a physician over there to be supervising the treatment. So there's a lot of accidents happen with this regard. So we have to be very careful. So if you want to get the treatment, our health and our body is important. You have to do it in a medical grade facility.
Mm-hmm.
If you are doing it in a medical grade facility, so the professional team over there will make sure, first of all, that what you're breathing is appropriate. And they can use our protocol. It's published, so everybody can use it. So that's the most important thing. And of course, if you will get it in a high-end clinic like the Aviv, then you will get everything related to your health at the maximal effectiveness that you can get. The cognitive test, the physiotherapy, the neuropsychology, the cognitive training, evaluation, whatever it is. So everybody has his range of scale.
Sure.
I hope that soon additional centers in the US will be open that will work in the same manner of Aviv, and they are, and Aviv will serve as the training hub for additional clinics. Unfortunately, it takes time because it's a big facility, so it will take time, but I hope that soon we will have additional centers.
Now, what does something like this cost? I highly doubt it's covered in insurance, is it?
As you know, normal aging is not being covered by everything.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, in medicine, we are usually treating catastrophe and not... Currently, there are 14 indications that are approved for hyperbaric.
Mm-hmm.
None of them is aging or age-related functional decline. So with respect to that, like anything else that wants to enhance yourself, you have to do it out of pocket.
Okay.
The range depends on the program that you get. It's not only the hyperbaric, it's what additional that you get. So the range can be between 30,000 for the 3 months program to 60,000 for the 3 months program. Depends what ingredients you have in addition to the hyperbaric inside. And people can, even not taking the treatment. When we are doing today annual checkups, you are doing blood tests, you are doing colonoscopy, you are evaluating your breast. Who evaluates the brain?
Who?
Yeah, who is doing evaluation of the brain as part of his annual checkups? We forget.
Oh, yeah, no, not many people.
Yeah.
That's true.
So what I'm saying, even if you're not getting a treatment, just do evaluation. Just do evaluation. Come do evaluation of your brain. Okay? Evaluate it now. Evaluate it a year from today. Evaluate it a year after. If it's stable, you are relaxed. But if there is a decline, then you will have more energy or more enthusiasm, and you will spare the time to do something, not to slow down, okay, about. But you have to see it, you have to measure it. So even if not getting the treatment, come do an evaluation.
Right.
Good.
How much is the evaluation versus also just doing a whole treatment? If you have at least a range.
Yeah, I don't know what
He's like $100 billion. That's why I'm
not
answering the question.
You can do it with $10,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And that will include objective with brain imaging and objective neurocognitive. But that's just do the evaluation. we understand that the process of Alzheimer's disease or dementia, it's a process that starts 20, 25 years earlier.
True. Preventative is very important for
But you
sure.
cannot-
Which is why I'm wondering how much I have to save up to come to your thing.
You have
That's why I'm like,
you for saving.
huh?
You have many years ahead of you for
She's
saving.
going to be bargaining with you here pretty
I'm
soon.
gonna be
so
yeah.
we could,
I want to
You-
come and do
you
this.
can-
It sounds
you can-
amazing, but
Nikki,
it sounds
you
like I
just-
need to keep up.
I think you just need to work there for a while. And,
Yeah,
and
can I?
You can work there, and and when you clean up a
Yep.
machine, hop in there for a little bit, and
For 2
it'll
hours
be
every
good.
night. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's reminds me
Yeah.
of my tanning
Yeah.
days when I worked at the tanning bed and I just hopped in the bed at the end after I cleaned it. So I'll
Well-
do that. You can hire me and I'll benefit.
Well, this has
Thank
been
you. That's
very
been amazing.
this has been very very interesting, and we do appreciate your time and
Yeah, thank you.
all the way from over there in Israel, and is really appreciate all you're doing.
Mm-hmm. I if I come to Tel Aviv, can I come visit you? Because I like
course.
Tel Aviv.
You are welcome to Tel Aviv.
Perfect. I would love to come. Well, thank you so much, because this has been so different than what I thought we were getting into. I thought we were getting into like the hyperbaric that we hear all the time, the little tubes that we find, around LA and things like that. But I love that this is completely different and more in depth, and there's so much more. You're doing so much more. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will have our healthy takeout. Welcome back to Longevity Junky. It's time for our healthy takeout.
You were really trying to get some free hyperbaric
I was
oxygen.
like-
You
I
were
was like,
trying really
come
hard.
on.
What if I caved to Tel Aviv?
What if I came to Tel Aviv?
A
I'm going to
smile.
still try. I'm still going to try. I know our producer has an email for him, and I'm going to try my ass for sure.
I know you are.
It sounds incredible.
Yeah.
And honestly, going into this, I literally thought we were going to be talking about those hyperbaric chambers.
Well, we still are, right? We kind of are. No, it's just that it's a little.
It's just that he has a different protocol or more
It's
in-depth
a protocol is different.
Okay.
First of all, what he was saying about the quality of machines, I think
That's true.
That is an important thing. 'Cause,
That's
like,
very important.
you have like people pumping in oxygen, these nasty little things
Sure.
everywhere, and so
Mhm.
so you do need to. Go
Yeah.
probably somewhere that has a physician overseeing it, like a
Mhm.
hyperbaric medicine type place. And you know,
Right.
you can find plenty of those. I mean, they're all over the place in LA. and
Well,
stuff,
it
but-
also sounded like you needed to have a really sterile, environment around
Yeah,
it.
you just have to. I mean, and those really medical grade hyperbaric machines are
Mhm.
made to you have to service them properly.
100%.
Clean them. But I think the big difference, the big difference is the way they're doing it, right? Like, so his whole idea is it's not like, okay, so you're right. You get this chamber and you're pressurized, and usually you're looking at somewhere between 1 and 2 atmospheres of pressure.
Mhm.
And then they burst in like the 100% oxygen. So typically in, what we're used to and what I'm used to when I think about this is just the pressure plus the oxygen, straight up an hour, you're
Right.
done. Right.
Right.
And the big difference is what he's saying is they're doing a whole protocol, which instead of just blasting oxygen into the whole tube, they've got somebody holding 100% oxygen to their face for a period of time, and then they let it go and let the body's oxygen drop significantly. Now it's still high because it's, you're in the chamber and you're not hyperoxygenated, but now you're at normal oxygen, but your body thinks it's dropped.
Hypoxia.
Yeah.
Right.
Your body thinks it's hypoxic because there's been a big drop in the delta, the difference between, you were super high oxygen.
Like you were just having the oxygen. Right.
Then you came down to normal oxygen. Your body thinks you're hypoxic
Oh,
at
shit.
that
Yeah.
point. And doing that sort of back and forth for 2 hours,
Yeah. That's,
every 5 days a week for 60 days.
that's a protocol.
It's a protocol. And so can you do that in the U.S.? Absolutely, you can. You just, you got to, it's going to be very expensive, by the way. Even in the U.S., I mean, if you do that, it's going to be expensive for sure. Because if you're doing that much hyperbaric chambers probably on average like a couple $100 an hour. So you're talking about $400 a day minimum, right? And
Yeah.
then, so do the math there. Where's Phil? Phil?
$400 a day for how many days?
That's $2,000 a week. $2,000 a week. Now,
Well, he was saying 60 days would be the best. That's $24,000.
yeah, that's without.
I mean, that's just having it as 400. Yeah,
that's like with what I'm saying is probably on the cheaper side.
Bad.
So yeah, I mean, if they're
24
saying
grand a year, or every 2 years.
well, yeah, so they're saying like he's saying like 30 to 60 grand because they're doing all sorts of other stuff, and some of their protocols are 90 days. Yeah, well,
I guess I got a lot to save up for.
Yeah, I do think that. Listen,
but I love it and I believe in it.
There is a lot of literature on there on the benefit of hyperbaric oxygen in general as well. So I think
true, but I really do believe that the hypoxia part, which is why I was bringing up hypobaric.
Yeah, then hold your breath every few seconds or every no, I'm not even kidding. If you're in there, if you're in there, like, hold your breath for as long as you can every few minutes, and you'll get that relative hypoxic state, right?
Okay.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm just doing the poor man's version, right?
Right. Yeah. No. Exactly.
But like that's effectively what you're doing,
Okay.
Or yeah, it's interesting. Makes me want to like set up some stuff over here or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do it as part of my new thing that I was telling you about. So
yeah. Which I want to talk to you about something else too, because that's really funny you mentioned that. But
yeah. So anyway, very interesting.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. I love that he uses brain imaging because Dr. Amen is definitely like my pal, and I love that he uses brain imaging. So
can you imagine doing something like that for 2 hours a day for 16 days? I mean,
honestly, I could because I go to the gym like 2 hours a day.
Well, that's true, but then yeah, I mean, I'd basically be going to the gym and I'd be doing that, and that's
I'd be my favorite morning Are you kidding? I would love that. I would absolutely love that.
Yeah,
I don't know. I love having a regimen, and I love having it be like super crazy. I don't know. I think I just feel like
I don't mind super crazy. I'm just thinking about being in a chamber for 2 hours a day every day.
Well, when we were in Colombia doing our stem cells and we went to the hyperbaric chambers, we had
Not
a
for
TV.
60 days straight.
No, I hear you. Well, I mean, I understand.
And it was only for an hour.
We can binge all of our shows.
That's true.
You never know. You could actually maybe like take in a mouse and a keyboard and have a computer.
Yeah.
You could do all sorts of things. Yeah. You could read your book finally. Like,
just don't smoke any cigarettes in there. You'll explode.
Oh God, I would never do that.
Kidding.
Maybe
kidding.
weed, but
of course you would. Of course you would. But he was saying that there was some explosions. Did you hear that? There was some,
fuck. With the 4-year-old kid?
That's
he
terrible.
Was saying something? That is horrible.
I mean, because all it takes is a spark. If you're in like all the pure oxygen, it's terrible. But anyway, gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. So anyway, yeah, that's interesting show. Anything else in your?
Oh, that's true. Our producer just called me out for saying bring in a mouse and a keyboard instead of just a laptop.
A mouse. Yeah.
Screw it. I can bring in. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
You bring in.
I can just bring in your iPad.
Oh, you know what you should do is bring your DVD player there.
I love my CD player. I love my CD player.
Your
my
8-track
Walkman,
player.
My 8-track player. Oh my God, that's funny. I actually didn't realize I did something like that.
Well, it's because
I'm the younger one.
Well, you're the younger one, but Phil's, Phil's even Phil's even younger.
I don't know. Ferragamo sounds pretty old.
Yeah, he is. Phil's. I think he just turned 30 or something like that. So.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and he's tapped into that world. He's tapped into the world.
And then he just called
You're
me
not.
out.
You're kind of like an old lady a little bit.
I love old school things. I'm not an old lady in my mind because I love like real tangible things, like having a Kindle versus a book. I'd rather go for the book.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
I
I love tactile.
Yeah, me too.
That's why my carry-on is always very heavy, because I have like journals and books and things to write in, and it's like, ugh, it's annoying.
Yeah,
But
I've seen that.
I know. Thanks for calling me out, Phil. I know you've seen it exactly. But I
Well-
love it. I need to do this for sure. Well, maybe my brain's not working efficiently because I need this oxygen therapy.
Yeah. You come back, be like,
I will.
who is this woman? This is crazy.
I'll be so elevated in my life.
Oh,
I love it.
nice. Well, you want to
Also-
read us out?
Of course. Longevity Junky is created by Dr. Buck Joffrey, MD. It is executive produced by myself, Nikki Lee, Dr. Buck Joffrey, and Phil Ferragamo, and we are distributed by our friends at Acast. See you next time.